can all join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Anyone here for the first time? Those who are here for the first time, what brings you here?
My friend.
Where are you at? Sorry.
My friend Adam.
Oh, hi. What'd your friend Adam tell you?
That I might find it interesting.
Nice. Glad the bar's not set too high there. That's good. Good work. I appreciate it. What else? First time. I kind of know why you're all here, but go ahead anyways.
We were with some family for
Yeah.
the first time, so just seeing what it's all about for them, trying to experience it myself.
Nice. Seeing how they got so calm and quiet and peaceful, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Well, welcome. Glad you're all here. It's like you could do like Family Feud setup right there. Hi.
And first time that I found it in the internet,
Yeah.
Google Meetup.
Oh, very cool.
application,
Yeah.
Because I'm looking for some Buddhist center. I am practitioner Buddhist
Hmm.
last about 10 years.
Nice.
So, but not here. In Russia,
Mhm.
in Afghanistan, and Belarus. Now I'm first time.
Nice.
in
Well, welcome. Glad you're here. How long you been here in San Diego?
Nice, I 5 years.
5 years.
I live
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I live and work here.
My background, we're historically Russian. Last name Zlotnik used to be Zlotnikov. You could probably say it properly.
I have a Buddhist name, Pema.
Yeah.
Pema,
Nice.
and my own name Manal.
Mm.
I have my job. I'm therapeutic body work. I help people with healing. I use better medicine, Chinese medicine.
Nice. Well, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else? First time here? Want to share why?
I've been meditating for some time, and I was just looking for a local temple, and this place is very close for me to come to, so I found you guys on the internet.
Pretty convenient, huh?
Very
Yeah.
convenient.
There's a lot of people in the neighborhood are convinced we're here just for them. You know? That's really great. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Yeah, it's always interesting. I like for, to just kind of have people reflect, whether it's your first time here, whether you've been at this for years. Always, I find it important to just reflect on what drew you to the practice to begin with, whether that's meditation, Buddhism, any spiritual path, a place like this, wherever it might be that you go. But I think it's always important to kind of ask yourselves, if you are newer to this stuff, like why? And then if you've been at this for a while, why do you keep practicing? Why do you keep showing up? How does it impact your life? What does it do for you? How does it play out in, every aspect of your life? Because I think, especially for those, as you kind of continue on, if you continue on to meditate and, learn these teachings and these practices, it doesn't always necessarily get easier, as I like to say. It becomes more challenging. Working on being a kind, gentle, compassionate person to everyone at all times is not easy. It takes a lot of work. And often we come into Buddhist practice thinking like it's just going to like fix everything. And it doesn't fix much of anything for quite a while. If anything, I like to say the first couple of years, it actually can make life more difficult because it requires, I think, to kind of open up this veil in a way that we've been seeing the world through certain lens our entire lives, our own perceptions. And we often think our own perceptions are what? Right. And all of a sudden you come into something that says, wait a minute, maybe the way I perceive the world isn't actually correct. And then you start to kind of ponder everything that you've always, thought and seen and judged and critiqued and labeled. And when you begin to kind of unravel all of that, it can be a little scary. It can be very difficult. It can be a bit overwhelming potentially. But when you really do try to see the world through a different lens, at the very least begin to see or try to begin to understand that your lens of reality, your lens of the world is just your lens. And it doesn't make it correct. And that's really difficult because so much of our lives, we're trying to be correct. We're raised to be right, to be correct, to know what to do. And this is kind of, shattering all of that and saying, I'm just going to experience life as it arises. And as I experience life as it arises, can I have kindness and compassion towards myself and others? And again, that's not always so easy. But, if you continue to practice and explore, I think ultimately it does lead to a kinder, gentler life for yourself and those around you. But it does. It requires some work. So, as I like to say, this isn't an escape from anything. It's actually direct perception into the nature of things, including the nature of your own mind. And I don't know about you, but my mind's an absolute mess. And it's not always fun or pretty to sit with that. So, but I'm sure that's not the case for any of you. All right, so we'll start with the meditation practice. For those who are joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for showing up. Feel free to say hello. There's a chat box on your screen somewhere. A couple things I'll tell you before we begin. For those who might be new or sitting for the first time, nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice. I mean, you don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit and breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you are on a cushion, often it helps. Slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward. If you're on a bench or chair, same idea. Just trying to sit up straight, relaxing the hands, relaxing the shoulders. If you need to move, simply move. Doesn't make you a bad meditator, just means you need to move. And also for those who might be brand new, you're not trying to shut your mind off. It will not go blank. You're not trying to think nothing. Your mind will race, as it always does. I'll say things periodically to remind you that you're lost in thought and bring you back to present moment, or wake you up because you have fallen into a deep sleep. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. And breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. Expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out. Follow breath out. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of judgments from your practice. Just sitting. Breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet. just sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move, and most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after, and compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's not from anything I said. It's not from how you sit and hold the hands across the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always, just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, and disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as I alluded to earlier. It is direct perception into the present moment. And present moment is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulty, and challenges. That's life. This practice is learning to be with life as it arises and not trying to run from it. Spend a lot of our time trying to fix, change, control, manipulate everything outside of us. Hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they would do this, wishing they would do that. So much time focused on the actions of others, and the actions of others are important. This practice is not to sit in a place of privilege and ignore the actions of others. But this practice is about becoming mindful and aware of your actions, your thoughts, your words, and how you interact with the world, how you engage with the world. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do in every moment. And that's all. But it is a practice. And it takes time. It's not a 6-week course. It's not overnight, you got it all figured out. It is every single day being mindful of our thoughts, our words, and our actions, regardless of where you are or what you're doing. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always really prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. We'll use the rest of our brief time this evening for questions. And to those who are joining virtually, again, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Feel free, if you have any questions, to put them on the chat box. I'll do my best to respond. And we'll open up to questions.
I struggle sometimes with ego whenever I'm in society. What are some strategies to help remind myself of when I'm acting out of ego?
Well, I love how you said you struggle only sometimes with ego.
When I recognize it, obviously.
There you go. And then the second part of your question was, what are some things to help me when I'm acting out of a place of ego, right? You're always acting out of a place of ego. The ego is not the problem. The ego is not going anywhere. You know, when I first got into Buddhist practice, I had this approach of like, I'm going to shatter my ego. Like it was this intense thing that I had to get rid of, that I was going to destroy my ego. That was the most egotistical thing. Like my ego was so big. I'm not even joking. Like, I mean, this is the humble me. You should have known me 25 years ago, right? The idea that I was going to shatter my ego was ridiculous for me as a practitioner. What I began to realize was, and this is, you even said it in kind of your response, is can I recognize how my ego, and this is my approach to it from Buddhist practice, can I recognize how my ego is harmful to myself and others? And can I recognize when my ego is beneficial to self and others? Right? Buddha's basic teachings, we suffer because we're constantly craving and desiring more. But he also said there are healthy cravings, healthy desires, the desire to suffer less. Right? If your ego didn't want to suffer less, you wouldn't be sitting here right now. You wouldn't be asking this question. You wouldn't be practicing. So the problem is not so much the ego, it's the recognition, again, going back to what you said. And so I think a couple of things as far as tips is to look at karma, right? Karma, for those who don't know, is not what goes around comes around. It's not getting what you deserve. It's not they're going to get what they deserve. Their karma is not coming to them. Karma is not what we get. Karma is what we give. Karma, the word karma literally means action. It's one of the most misunderstood words and teachings in Buddhist practice. Karma means action. The Buddha taught very clearly we generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, mind. What we think, what we say, and what we do. So it's like shooting pool, right? You ever played pool? Right? So the cue ball goes into the rack. Every single time that cue ball goes into the rack, every ball goes into a different direction. So your entire life, our entire lives, we are that cue ball. This is our karma. It's what we bring into the world with our thoughts and our words and our actions. So the tip very specifically is to recognize with every single thing you do, all day long. That's why this is such a fun practice. Ask yourself, are my thoughts, are my words, and are my actions coming from a place of loving kindness and compassion? Or are they coming from a place of greed, anger, and ignorance? Right? Second, first noble truth, Buddha said life is filled with dukkha, suffering, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction. Just means we're going to struggle a lot in our lives. And the second thing he says is, what's the cause? Cause of our suffering is greed, craving, wanting more. Anger, we don't like the way things are, and we're ignorant, meaning we think our view of perception is correct. So the practice is to overcome the greed is to generosity, to overcome the anger is compassion, to overcome the ignorance is wisdom. So that's your tip right there, your practice point right there, is to look at everything you do all day long and pause. What is the intention behind this action? Generosity, compassion, wisdom, greed, anger, ignorance. Is it to benefit myself and only me, or is it to benefit others? And sometimes it's a combination of both. And then lastly is to do all of these things without then judging yourself. Because all of a sudden you pick up some Buddhist book and you read some Dalai Lama, Pema Chodron, Thich Nhat Hanh, and you're like, oh, they're so loving and kind and compassionate. And it sounds so great, And then you go outside and you do the exact opposite of every single thing you just read. And you're like, shit, I'm the worst Buddhist there is, Now you've taken your ego, you've viewed yourself, so you're just wrapped up in a whole mess. Be patient. That makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah. But use the ego for good. It's there. It's not going anywhere. And recognize when it's causing harm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What else? Yeah.
So today, I was doing a little stroll while it was raining, and I came across some snails. So some people laugh, some people didn't. So maybe can you talk about the principles behind the snails?
Have you heard my snail story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the principle behind
I kind of thought you had. I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and I saw them, and then I was like, immediately made me think of you.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I mean, at least it was love and kindness.
Yeah.
The snails.
Yeah. Quick show of hands. Who here has heard the snail story? So that means about half of you have not. All right. So the snail story. When I first got into Buddhism, before that, when I was a kid, 9, 10 years old, it would rain. I grew up here in San Diego. It would rain 10 times a year. Snails would come out. I mean, they exist otherwise, but especially when it would rain. And where I lived, my house, this kind of sidewalk going up to the front door, there were always snails there. And as a kid, I'd come home from school, come home from practice, whatever it was. And I loved stepping on snails. I know. hang on, the story's not over. Give me time. Actually, that's it, pretty much. I mean, there's no changing that part of the story, right? When I was a kid, I loved stepping on snails, and I just squashed snails. And you know, fast forward many years, and I'm getting into Buddhism, and I don't know, I, like pretty early on, did a refuge and precept ceremony, and the precepts are to refrain from lying, to refrain from killing or harming, actually, to refrain from stealing or taking what's not yours, to refraining from intoxicants, and to refrain from sexual misconduct. So I take these precepts and I'm listening to this talk, and all of a sudden I had this like traumatic flashback to when I was a 10-year-old kid killing snails. And I had like this endless like guilt and remorse. And I felt like I was this terrible person. Like, oh my God, look at all these snails I slaughtered, And so I went on for like 2 years, this like what I call the save the snail kind of crusade. And every time I would see snails, I would pick them up and I would move them, and I'd like feel so good. Like I would say, and I never thought that I was making up for the snails that I'd killed. Like it was never to that point where I thought like, this is, like I'm equal now. No, I always knew the harm I had caused, right? And we can relate this to life, right? Beyond snails. Anyone here caused harm? Stop doing that, right? So, but the harm that we cause currently, or the kind things we do currently, doesn't change past, harm. So anyways, for like 2 years, I'm like trying to save all these snails, and I'm moving around when I see them, and I'm like feeling so guilty. And then fast forward, I don't know, however many years, and all of a sudden I heard some other teaching, and it like triggered something else. And I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Like in what I thought was wisdom, right? The two wings of Buddhist teachings are wisdom and compassion. So the compassion is like the love for the snails. And my wisdom was telling me, now I'm going to move the snails. I'm going to save the snails. So I did that for like 2 years. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I'm so stupid. Like, why do I think I know where the snail is going, right? All of a sudden there's a snail, it's going this way. So I pick it up and I move it, thinking that like I'm saving them, I'm moving them quicker. Maybe I moved it and brought them closer to their death. Maybe I moved the snail and they were actually trying to go the other way. And in the process of going back, then they got stepped on. And people think like, oh, if they're on the sidewalk, move them into the grass. Well, not everybody walks on the sidewalk. And if you see them on the sidewalk, if they're in the sidewalk, at least you have a chance to see them. If they're in the grass, you don't see them. Ultimately, I came to realize I have no idea what is best for the snail. I was wrapped up in, again, kind of from that ego side of it, thinking like, I know what's best for the snail. I'm going to save them all. So from now on, from that moment on to the rest of my life, I see the snails. I do my little joining palms. I wish them well. I send them love from my heart and mind. I leave them alone because I have no idea what is best for the snail. I don't know where the snail is going. And that's it. And, I found that to be a really beautiful practice for life, right? I mean, we want to help people. And I'm not suggesting that we stop helping people. But there are moments in our lives where we think we're helping people and maybe we're actually causing them harm. So I'm not suggesting that we ignore people, we leave people alone on that level. But as far as the snails go, I don't know what's happening with them. So, we can't really have a conversation and work through stuff. People can be a little bit different. But when it rains, I immediately think of the snails. Snail families, like. And I'm serious. If you ever, snails, ants, I mean, all these insects, all these, we slaughter so many beings that just don't want to be harmed, truly. So thanks for bringing up the snails. What else? Yeah.
I know you spoke about non-attachment. You briefly mentioned it. I've been having difficulty practicing it when it comes to judgment, in my opinion. I think a lot of the times I've been trying to tell myself that I don't need to have an opinion about certain things, but I find it very difficult to do that. So it's like, how do you distance yourself from judgments and opinions over things that aren't necessary?
No, great question. I mean, not that the other ones weren't, but let me just point out a couple things of what you said. So paraphrase as well for those virtually didn't hear it. Your question was, in essence, a few weeks ago, I talked about non-attachment and you've been trying to practice it, but you've noticed in your life recently that you're having difficulty around it when it comes to your judgments and your opinions. And so your question is, which I'm glad you said it this way, your question is like, how do you stop having opinions? Don't stop having opinions. That one's really easy to start with. I'll explain more. But yeah, when you first hear non-attachment, and even, you know, for many years, it's difficult to, your whole life, it'll be difficult to practice. But I'm glad you brought it up that way, because what your question said to me, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, was you're missing, to me, I think, the critical piece of what non-attachment is about. Non-attachment isn't about not having opinions. Because if you think you're going to go through life and not having an opinion, that in and of itself is an opinion. Make sense? Your whole life, you're going to have opinions. Those are never going to go away. The non-attachment part comes into play with an opinion that helps us understand you have an opinion. What do 10 other people have about the same thing? An opinion, right? Yours isn't correct. Yours is just yours. Make sense? And so the non-attachment part says, this is my view. Non-attachment is understanding that everybody else also has their views. The practice isn't to surrender your views. That can get really dangerous. It's not like throwing in a towel and saying, I don't care. You know, the world is a disgusting mess, always has been and probably will be for a very long time. And if people stop caring, then it'll just become more of a mess. We should have opinions. For me as a practitioner, I have very strong opinions. You know, I'm just like, I am a practitioner. This is a very big part of my life, Buddhist teachings. I also have very strong opinions on things. And I look at Buddhist teachings and I think of the Buddha himself as just a human, just some dude. In what Thich Nhat Hanh called engaged Buddhism, the Buddha, Siddhartha himself, he was an activist. I consider him an activist. He fought for what he believed in, but he did it in a very gentle, kind, peaceful way. But he spent 45 years roaming around telling people how to be kind and compassionate. I mean, I don't know what's more engaging than that, you know? So he had opinions, he had views, but he also listened to others. So for me, the real, for you and your example, the practice will be to, when you encounter people who have different opinions than you do, which is going to be every day of your life, do you listen to them? Do you still respect them? Do you care about them? Do you love them? Do you wish them well? Or do you just think that they're a piece of whatever just because they have a different opinion than you? It's really easy to default and say, well, they're just this because of that. But this is where the wisdom comes in. Wisdom comes in and says, we don't know anything about those people. They may have one view on one thing and we just label them as whatever, and then we toss them aside. We don't know the trauma they've gone through. We don't know the abuse they've gone through. We don't know the pain they have experienced. We don't know how they were raised, what they were taught. We don't know anything about them. We just see that immediate interaction. And then we just kind of label them and dismiss them. So non-attachment is opening up and listening, really. Dialogue, debate, understanding. That make sense? Yeah. What else?
Would you liken the term non-attachment to the trendy radical acceptance?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, yes. Like, you know, Tara Brach's, the book's a great book, Radical Acceptance. I think that I just personally struggle a little bit with the word like acceptance, even radical acceptance in a way, just personally. And this might just be, you know, kind of just linguistics, but like if I have to radically accept something, to me, what that says is I don't really like it and I don't agree with it, but I'm going to accept it. And for me, very specifically, at least from like the lens, the attempted lens of a Zen practitioner, is to experience things as they are without having to accept it. I'm in many ways contradicting everything I just said. I understand that about not having an opinion, but that was just for him, right? Or about having an opinion, but that was just for him. Now, Adam, right? Was your name Adam? Yeah. So cover your ears for a minute. Like, do earmuffs, right? I think ultimately, the practice is about going. It is about going beyond opinions, but not to the point where you don't care. That's where it can get really dangerous. So I think there probably are some similarities, but that's just a phrase that never sat so well with me.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say radicalism to me is more like on the terms of like surrendering. Right?
Yeah.
Rather than fighting and trying to impose opinion, it's more of like surrender.
Mhm.
Like I'm waving a white flag versus I love you and accept
Right.
you exactly for who you are, which is what non-attachment is. I just didn't know
Definitely.
where you were on that.
Yeah, there's another phrase that's escaping me right now, but I hear people use it a lot. I mean, nothing to do with Buddhism, just, but similar to where kind of accepting things, like with people, like, but it's still kind of saying we don't
Love and tolerance.
Yeah, exactly as well.
Is like,
Tolerate. We don't like it, but we'll tolerate it. We'll put up with it. But the practice is to embrace it and experience it, not judge it as good or bad or right or wrong. Yeah.
Going through the aspect of opinions
Mm.
and have an issue with this is why.
Mm.
What happened when, okay, everybody can have an opinion, but your opinion could be based on truth, facts, tangible facts, or could be based in ignorance, which in my opinion, it could be really risky.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as everybody has an opinion, where does the truth stand? Where does the, that's the lake of ignorance that I'm in, because I've been facing in my real life situations where it's like, what you're talking about, it's not real.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, it's ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And people take it as personal, even worse. And I can be pointed out as anything that you want, just because I dare to have a conflict with this person's point of view, whatever opinion, that is not real.
You're talking about, if you, just to clarify the last part, you're saying that if you call people out and you say to them that their opinion is not real.
Yeah. It could be your opinion, but it's wrong.
Hang on.
An example could be like a doctor.
Yeah.
You have a doctor and you have a TikToker.
Yeah.
Okay? Best example ever.
Yeah.
Where does the truth?
Yeah. No, I got it. So the challenge here is, so Buddhist teachings are not ultimate truth. Once we start to speak about anything, it's just an opinion. Everything. It's not about the opinion being factual or not. The simple example I always use is, you take a slice of pizza, you take a bite, right? The way you describe it is not what that pizza tastes like. It's just your description of it. Now it's your truth. Like, that's real to you. But it's not anybody else's truth. But the pizza is just the pizza. That hasn't changed, right? Have you seen my magic trick with the bowl? All right. Wow, you're getting the snail story and the bowl on the same night. For those who've seen this, do not give it away, right? But, so what is this? Bowl. What else? Metal. What else? Don't give it away. What? Bronze, right? A tool. What is it now? It's a hat. It's a yarmulke. Look at you, my Jewish people. Right? That's actually the first time someone's ever said that, and two of you. We did just finish Hanukkah, right? Now, if you take this and you put like Lucky Charms in it, what is it? It's a cereal bowl, right? Has this changed?
No.
The truth of this, has this changed? Have the facts of this changed? Whether it's on TikTok or in whatever world, this has not changed. What changes is our perception of it based on what? How we use it, our experience with it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, you know, a broken arm, if somebody walks up, if I break my arm, somebody walks up and says, your arm's not broken. You know, that's their opinion versus my opinion. Yeah, I get it. Like, ultimately, yes, there are facts to certain things.
Yeah.
But I just caution all of us to be very careful on certain things, because once we get out of, like, I mean, a broken arm is a broken arm. Once we get out of that world, it's very kind of a slippery slope into, just because we have a strong opinion on something doesn't make it a fact, doesn't make it truth. It's just our strong opinion, right? The doctor, I mean, doctors are wrong. No offense to the doctors in the room, but, you know, I know lots of doctors, they've been wrong also. Lots of people on TikTok, I've still never been on it, but some of them might be right also. There could be somebody on TikTok who might be more correct than a doctor. It's just possible. Like, we don't ultimately know. What we want to be careful of is just making blanket statements that say this person or this place is right and this is wrong. I think it really comes down to this, like, you know, unique situation. But to me, ultimately, what the Buddha was getting at was experiencing moment to moment things without describing them. I mean, a broken arm is only a broken arm because I call it an arm.
Right.
So, yeah, it just depends on, again, kind of going back to the non-attachment, like how attached we are to thinking we're right and what truth is. Like, the Buddha's words are not truth. The Buddha was just a human, right? It's not like God, who was, you know, he was just a human. He just wanted people to be kind and compassionate and practice wisdom and all that kind of stuff. He wasn't trying to get anybody, you know, one of my favorite expressions about Buddhist teachings is where, you know, this idea that, you know, you're not trying to become the Buddha. You're not trying to be like him. You're trying to look at what he taught, right? Don't seek to be like him, seek what he was after. What he was after was figuring out how to end suffering, how to suffer less, how to be kinder and gentler and compassionate. And it very often is our strong views and opinions that stop us from being kind and compassionate, because when our views and opinions get challenged, then walls go up and we start to fight because we're very attached. What else? Yeah.
I've got two things. So first, I just want to say that I'm coming up to the end of 2025. Just feeling so incredibly grateful for so many things, life, my health, this whole experience this year, coming into to the temple here, and the connections. And so just really, really thankful. So just want to say thanks to everyone here for being so vulnerable and asking your questions. I've learned so much from so many of you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course for you, mm-hmm.
Thank you.
A little bit to do with it, I guess.
It's all them.
But then my question, which I think will be a softball for you. When it comes to meditation, there are times when I find that I just get really stuck on something. Like maybe it's I gotta remember, I gotta get this done. To a point where it's hard for me to continue the meditation practice, to a point where I'm like, should I just stop really quick and make a note of that?
Yeah.
So that it's out of my system and then start focusing again on meditation? Or is it better just to power through it, to train your mind to say, no, you're gonna just keep going back to breathing and just let that go.
Sure.
Just let it go. So what's it?
Yeah, I mean, you could try both, honestly. But I think, you know, the one of the first things I was taught was if you're sitting in meditation, right? There's always this, if you have an itch during meditation, right? Now, again, in Zen practice, the practice is you don't move. You do not move. That's not how I lead it here. It's not how I share it. It's not how I express it. But that's what I was taught. And that there were two things you could do if you had an itch, right? You could potentially scratch the itch, or itch the itch for those who say that, or whatever, your preference is, and then go back to stillness. Or leave it alone. What you don't want to do with the itch is sit there for 10 minutes or an hour wondering, should I scratch it or not? Like either scratch the itch and come back to stillness, or just have that intense sensation, focus on sensation of breath. Breathing in, breathing out, thought arises and pass. Breathing in, breathing out, thought arises and pass. Breathing in, there's an itch. Breathing out, passes. Breathing in, like each moment, literally. And ultimately what you're getting at is, what you're working on is to where, whether it's the itch or the thought that arises, there's nothing wrong with the itch, the thought of the itch. There's nothing wrong with the thought that you're, whatever it is. Because ultimately, like you said, what you're kind of doing, so let's say you have one thought that comes up and it just won't go away. So what you're asking is, should I just like maybe stop, write it down, put it on my phone and then move on? But then what's going to happen? Something else is going to take its place. So there isn't ultimately even anything wrong with that first thought. It could just be that first thought over and over and over again. Because the thought of, I need to wash the dishes, or the thought of, is the laundry done? What's the difference in either one of those thoughts? They're just random thoughts. Ultimately, the practice is not giving any power or weight to them whatsoever. They arise and they fall. Waves come and go, clouds pass, airplanes fly overhead, trains fly by. Or roll by, but you know what I mean. So you could try soon. Yeah, you could try both and see what I think resonates with you better, what sits with you better. I don't want to say one way is better or worse. And then also begin to, because ultimately I think what's happening is it's the obsession over that thought that keeps arising that is potentially bothering you. And so you're like, well, this thought won't go away. So you're trying to do something with that thought. Maybe the issue is really the desire to do something with the thought, as opposed to just constantly watching the thought. So try different things and see how it settles. Yeah.
Related to that, I've noticed that the longer that I keep up the meditation practice, the more thought arises
Yeah.
Is that I have become more trusting that if I need to remember that thought after meditation time, I will.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it shows up hours later, and sometimes it never shows up again.
Right.
But I trust, and I can let it go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just astounded at that shift.
And I think that's, back, and I think you even asked that, and if it's something important that like you really don't want to forget, then yeah, just jot it down and kind of move on from it. If it's a meaningless thought, then it's a meaningless thought. But either way, yes, I think if it is something that's important, that's relevant, you're kind of training the mind to be present anyways. And so if it's something that really needed to get done, it's probably going to surface back in your life, and you're like, oh yeah, I should, probably like turn the stove off sometime soon. And if it's completely meaningless, then it's not going to come back because it didn't really matter. But if it is something that you're like, oh, I don't want to forget that, and I want to write it down, and that's the part that you're obsessing over, then yeah, it might be better to just jot it. Because again, I think we have to be, and this is for everybody, I think we have to be very mindful and aware of the fact that meditation is not an escape. We're not trying to stop the thoughts. We're not trying to go away from the thoughts. We're not trying to shut the mind off. We're not trying to accomplish anything. We're just trying to be present with life as it arises. And life as it arises includes thoughts, includes things that we have to do, includes meaningless thoughts, includes important thoughts. So if you want to stop when an important thought arises, stop and write it down and come back to sitting. It's the resistance. That's kind of what I was talking about. It's the resistance to things as it arises. That's the conflict. So look at life, right? Forget seated meditation. Now just look at life. Life happens. You go through your day. Somebody triggers you, pisses you off. You can continue to let it ruin you for the next 3 months or 30 years, right? Or you can just say that was just a thought. I'm going to jot it down and I'm going to move on. Or that was just a thought. I'm going to move on. So it's not about, again, it's not about being good at the meditation practice. We're not training the mind to be good at meditation because we don't spend our lives in some seated meditation practice. As the Buddha said, sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. So everything you're doing, it's a concentration and focus on present moment. And a present moment is jotting something down, and that's your meditation practice as well. You know, writing a note can be just as meditative as sitting, but it's the resistance to it, as if it's disrupting something. Nothing is disrupting meditation. Like you can't disrupt meditation. You're just sitting and breathing. Where your mind is at, that's a whole different story. But you're just sitting and breathing, you know? So, anything else before we close? Yeah.
Really quick. You said just a few minutes ago, I'm going to mangle your words, I'm sorry. You said that in Zen, the point of focus, whatever, is to experience life as it arises from moment to moment to moment. So what just popped into my mind is that the point of koans to so confuse the student? They attach so much pain to not being in the moment that they just drop into the moment. They no longer go back to ruminating.
Yeah, I mean, I think without getting too much into koan practice, I think that the idea of koan, for those who don't know, there's two major schools of Zen Buddhism, Soto and Rinzai. And Rinzai has, the focus is using the koan practice, which is, you know, these kind of puzzles. You know, does a dog have Buddha nature? If a tree falls in the forest, do you hear it? You know, things like that. To me, the purpose of koans is to really take you out of this way of thinking that we're trying to solve something all the time, or that things need to be understood all of the time. And so, yes, there's kind of a, if I'm understanding what you're saying and asking, being in the present moment, and I'll close with this thought, being in the present moment, the practice of being in the present moment as life arises is to go beyond any sort of labels or judgments and just experience. And if we shatter the way we tend to see things typically, I think that brings us closer to actually being able to touch what ultimate reality actually is, which is not our perception of reality. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May this merit be transferred to Pam during her time of rebirth, and to Mark and his family and friends who suffer at this time. All right, before y'all head out, our Dharma Bum host Hazel has some announcements. And one quick announcement while she's coming up, this will be our 20th annual Dharma Bum Temple New Year's Eve celebration. Yes. And so we are, well, you doing this? No. So if you've never done a silent and sober New Year's, this is your opportunity to do both. And I promise you'll survive. But we get together at 7 for vegetarian potluck. A lot of people are then home and in bed by 9:30. 9 o'clock, I'll do a history and a vision of the Dharma Bum Temple. And then 11:30, we pile in here and do a 30-minute meditation going into midnight. So the whole night is not silent, just the last 30 minutes for meditation. Some people come at 7 and they're home early. Some people come at 9. Some people stay all night. Some just crash at 11:30. And we have a nice, quiet meditation going in the new year. So you're all welcome. So, yeah, sorry, I should have done that first.
Okay.
Thanks, Hazel.
Hello. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sauna that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back whenever you're done with it. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and latch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hazel.